to the depraved world of faux snuff this episode as we take a look at August Underground's sequel, August Underground Mordum. A film that is probably the most well-known of the entire August Underground collection, and the one that usually sits atop people's most disturbing films of all time lists. But is it any good? Is it better than its predecessor? And is it still effectively disturbing? Well, that's what I want to have a look at this episode. We're going to be following a similar formula to the previous episode, where I'm focusing more in on the positive, seeing what it does well, what it does right, and why it's a film that is worth talking about, especially in the context of horror and extreme horror. This is a film that's usually shoved to one side as being nothing more than an exercise in cruelty and a worthless piece of film. But I think there's a little more going on here than just that. So, as we did with the last film, let's start with a little bit of history. After the success of August Underground, Fred Vogel thought it best to jump quickly and get cracking on a sequel. He also got the inspiration from directing a music video for a band called Necrophagia, I'm not sure if I'm saying that name right, which then led to the lead singer of that band getting involved in this project. So with $300 in his pocket and a slightly larger pool of willing participants, he got to work on a film with a much bigger scope. We get more characters, more violence, more extreme scenes, but it's all using the same sort of stuff. It's got the same camera, same filters, and even Fred Vogel is reprising his role from the first film. The film was shot in 2003 and very quickly gained notoriety as being an infamous piece of extreme art. And it's not just directed by Fred Vogel. Every person who holds a camera in this film basically has a directing credit, and it gives it a bit more of a looser, free-form feel, which I quite like about it. I think this was the first one that I saw in the August Underground trilogy, actually. It must have been back in, 2005, 2006, and I hadn't seen anything quite like this before. And I was surprised and quite shocked with how real it all looked. And I remember not really knowing how to take it, to be completely honest. And I think since then I've seen it one more time. So a mate showed me this on his laptop when I stopped at his house. And I think since then I showed another person this in a similar vein, sort of passing on the torch in a sense. But again, that was a very, very long time ago. And although I do remember bits of this film, it's a little hazy. So it's going to be interesting seeing if this holds up and what it's like rewatching it. So you're probably wondering what the hell this film's all about. Once again, we are following killers going on a killing spree and just generally dicking about. Fred Vogel reprises his role as Peter Mountain. Not sure if I mentioned that was his name in the first film, but his character is called Peter Mountain. And this time he is joined by a group of other people. So we get Krusty, played by Chrissy Wiles. She's an angry and demented emo girl who can vomit on command. And then we get her brother, who's a guy called Maggot, who's played by a guy called Michael Schneider. Funnily enough, we've seen Michael Schneider in another film before. He was in the piece of Millennium trash called The Wickeds that we covered in the hard gore review. Maggot is a pretty demented guy with some mental health issues, and he's either seen giggling or having a breakdown.
Jonesy! Wake up, man!
How you doing?
Good, good.
It's the boobies! Boobies, yay! Yay, boobies!
If the first film was Beavis and Butthead go on a killing spree, then I'd say that this film is cringy, emo, early to mid-2000s teenagers go on a killing spree. They do what you'd expect. They torture people, they kill people, and then they just generally cause trouble in places like shops and clubs and tattoo parlours, piercing parlours, and they also bang each other. Even the siblings. Not great. At some point in the film, the gang meet up with a fourth serial killer who is played by Killjoy, who's the lead singer of the band Necrophagia. He's killed a bunch of people and let them rot in his shed, so there's a lot of looking at these rotting corpses. And then towards the back end of the film, the gang decide to kill a family. And there's a bit of arguing, and eventually Maggot slits his own throat. Then we sort of hard cut to credits. And then after the credits, we get a little post-credit scene of a really cute cat playing with a dead mouse. And that's your lot, story-wise, for this film. Vogel takes everything that he learned from the original and ups it all to 11. Gone, or at least stripped back, are the more boring sections of people dicking about, and instead we get more wall-to-wall gore and murder. It's a lot more in your face, and it's a lot more visceral, with the effects being upped, and just the amount of bodies that we see being a lot more. If the first film was sort of the fore-founder of Millennium Trash, this film is probably the benchmark of Millennium Trash. This film is saying, this is what we need to be striving toward on the extreme scale. And it does kind of fit more into Millennium Trash, this film. It definitely has more of the angst, but it also goes sort of beyond Millennium Trash in a sense, just down to the style and extreme nature of everything.
Is she even breathing? Oh, I hope not.
Visually, it's similar to the first film, although the filter seems to be toned down just a little bit. That sort of ghosting that you get in the first one isn't quite as much, but to counterbalance that, the environments are a lot darker, there's a lot more shadows. The amount of stuff that we see in this as well is crazy, the amount of gore, and the sheer amount of corpses that are littering everywhere is pretty impressive. Some of them have got like live maggots crawling around on top, and it just creates a much more visceral experience. You can almost smell this film. It's that sort of gut punching when you're seeing things. The acting, again, isn't too bad. It's kind of believable. There's not too many bad lines, although if I'm going to single somebody out, Killjoy probably has the worst delivery out of everybody. He has some lines that are a little cringy later on, but I do like his character. I think he makes up for his bad performance with his character. I really like the bit where after a night of killing everybody, they wake up the next morning and Killjoy's just really stressing out and trying to get on with his accountancy job. It's the little details like that that you get that do flesh out these characters.
What are you doing?
Fucking working.
You're fucking... Dude.
The same can be said for Maggot. His little freak out section in the bathroom where he's cutting his hair is just a nice little character moment. It doesn't give us too much where we figure out motive and it ruins any sort of mystique these characters have, but it just gives us a little something more, and it's interesting to see one of these insane psychopathic people struggling with something.
Quit. Stop that. Stop it. Fucking quit it. What the fuck is wrong with you?
The real standout performance in this, though, comes from Krusty. She is pretty deranged. She is like an archetype of like a deranged emo girl from the early to mid 2000s. Yeah, I can imagine her MySpace profile right now. She screams all the time. And as I said, she can vomit on command, which leads to some very disgusting moments where there's people who are tied up and she's just chucking up on these people. And I just kept thinking, this isn't faked. Like, she is just doing that because that is just something that she can do. And it's disgusting to watch.
Sissy fuck.
The found footage angle is pretty well done here as well. It's consistent, and there wasn't anything that drew me out of the film, like anything obvious anyway. And I think that's the thing with this sort of found footage thing. There are aspects to doing it just with a handheld camera that can be quite effective, such as like when a character's in another room and screaming, just that distance can create quite a strange effect where you can just hear someone in the distance just screaming their head off. It's interesting, and it's very easy to overly complicate things with the found footage. Like, you start adding effects and editing choices and things like that, and it muddies it, and simplicity is the key to found footage. And I'd say that this does the simplicity excellently, and it is really effective.
Hey, fuckhead! Shitter.
What are you guys?
Yo, why don't you go over the fucking register? Give us
And I guess that's it, really. It takes all the boring sections, all the dull bits from the first film, gets rid of them, and what we get instead is 80 minutes of non-stop, angry, aggressive, sleazy violence. There's more torture, there's more sexual violence, there's more characters, there's more in-your-face moments, and it achieves what it sets out to do. It wants to make you uncomfortable, and it wants to upset you, and it does that. And it's also a really nice showcase of some great gore effects and just ingenuity with very limited budget. I praise the first film, and everything I said about that can be applied here, but this film just does it that little bit better, in my opinion. So as you can probably tell from what I've been saying, I think that this is a stronger film than the first. Not only for what I've already said, but also because it's a nice little time capsule. The first one's a time capsule of the late 90s, early noughties, the nihilism and such. But in this one, the nihilism's going away, and it's been replaced with anger, and it just wants to scream and be aggressive, and I think that it succeeds in that. You can see the shift, and there was a big shift between late 90s and like early to mid noughties. There was a huge shift, especially in America, probably tell why, but people were getting angry and pissed off, and they wanted to express that in the most horrible ways they possibly could. That's why things like extreme music became more popular over MySpace and online and such. Things were just getting more extreme and angry and in your face because people felt like something was wrong and they wanted to scream about it. And this does that in a very, very effective way. If you're gonna watch a faux snuff film, you can't really do much better than this one. Once again, this film managed to make me feel pretty nauseous as well. The camera whips around quite a lot. Loads of different people having the camera means that you've just got these different people shaking the camera about, chucking the camera to each other and that, and it can make for quite a bit of motion sickness. But then on top of that, just the more visceral looking corpses, and the vomiting stuff was a bit too much. Not a fan of vomiting at the best of times, and that really did turn my stomach quite a lot. It's pretty disgusting when it gets going, this film. Nearly forgot to mention as well, the scene where the guy cuts his penis off with nail clippers is pretty brutal. And I said as well about the first film sort of setting the scene a little bit for extreme violence. And if that film did, this film definitely influenced a lot. This one is the most famous of all the August Underground films. This one was circulated a lot throughout the early noughties, and I'd say that without this film, well, without the first film, you wouldn't have the second film. Without the second film, you might not have as much violence and gore in popular media as you do today. Similar to what I said with the first one, really. Things like Terrifier and things like that. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if some of your favourite extreme horror directors, gory horror directors, weren't influenced by this, you know. I feel like there's definitely some overlap here. It's probably also worth mentioning as well at this point, there is a different cut of this film floating around. So because loads of different people had camcorders while shooting this film, just a lot of stuff got shot and then cut out of the main feature. So there's a maggot cut apparently, so the character Maggot apparently shot a hell of a lot more of his character that didn't make the final cut. So he got all the footage together and released the maggot cut, which is like an hour 40. I haven't seen that version. I'd be interested in seeing it, if I'm completely honest, but I maybe need a little break after watching this one before delving into that. But if you've seen that, let me know what you think to it, because I am fascinated to see what they did with it. This film obviously isn't going to be for everybody. As I said in the last review, it's an extreme film, and I get that people want to have fun when watching films and don't want to be upset, disturbed and disgusted. Get it completely. If you are going to watch an August Underground film though, this is probably the one that you want to be watching, I think. Because I think that while the first one is really good, its flaws are a little more obvious than in this one. It's not an easy watch, it's not a fun watch, but if you are going to watch one, August Underground's Mordum is the way to go. And yeah, so far so good. We've only got one left, so we might as well carry on, and we might as well do the last one while we're here. So in the next episode we're going to be checking out August Underground's Penance. And at this point I want to say thank you very much for watching this video. Let me know what you think to this type of video. If you've got any more extreme films that you want me to watch, let me know in the comments. If you're not a fan of this type of stuff, then fair enough, there's only one more and then we're done with it anyway and I'll move on to something else. But do let me know if it's not for you as well. I'm interested to hear all sides, all criticisms, everything that you got to say. So do let me know. And the patrons and members are up on screen right now, so I do want to say thank you to those. It means a lot that you're supporting me. And if you do want to support the channel, there's a link down at the bottom so you can check it out and see if there's anything that floats your boat over there. So thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.